What's going on, guys? Thank you for watching and tuning in. On this week's episode, we're going to go ahead and review a heads-up no-limit match that I played with one of my buddies, a poker player named Raph. He's a very tough opponent, and we're going to be going through one sick beat that I took on one hand. And the setup for this match was 2,000 in chips, tournament style. The blind started at 510. We agreed to play 100 hands, or whoever busts out first. We got through 40 hands, and on this one, like I said, we'll be going over one sick beat that I took. But hey, such is life. You're going to take bad beats, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just got to say YOLO and throw your chips out there. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this bad beat I took.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and review this hand from the heads-up no-limit match that I had last weekend. Dealer's finishing up shuffling here. He gives it to me to cut. I never cut because you're going to end up taking away your pocket aces, so word of the wise, don't cut the deck. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take a peek at our cards. We have 9-6 of diamonds. It's $5 to call. We're going to go ahead and limp in here, see if we can see a flop for cheap. Maybe, flop a flush draw or potentially a straight draw. But our opponent says no, no, no. He's going to go ahead and put in a raise here. We're also going to say no, 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 and we're going to go ahead and call. We're going to see if we can flop that draw, see if we can get the straight draw or potentially a flush draw, maybe trip, something crazy like that. So the flop comes in, king of diamonds, 9 of spades, 6 of spades. So we flop the world here. We have middle and bottom pair, 2 pair. Our opponent checks it to us. We're going to go ahead and put in a small bet here of $20 into a $70 pot. The reason why we go ahead and do this is see if we can, get some value but not scare him away. But he says no, 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 and he goes and puts in a raise. Now this raise is very confusing. He makes it 50, 2.5x raise. This raise ultimately decided how I played the hand. This did not scream top pair to me. What this screams is flush draw all the way. So like maybe even top pair and a draw. So he might have, like king rag suited or something like that. But regardless, there's nothing more to do than call. So we call. The turn card comes a queen of clubs. Our opponent checks it to us. There's about $170 in the pot. We're going to go ahead and size out a pretty sizable bet of about 60 to 65% pot. We go ahead and size that up. The reason why we go ahead and do that is we're going to see if we can get some fold equity, see if we can price him out of his draw a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and put in that $110 bet, see if he might fold a flush draw here. It looks like he's a little confused as to what I'm doing. He's having to think about it himself. He's trying to put all the pieces together, as am I. So he's reaching for chips. He goes and puts in the call here for $110, and then we're going to go ahead and see what the river brings. So the river brings an 8 of diamonds. In my mind, a brick. Jack 10 got there, but I don't think that he would have played Jack 10 this way. So he goes in and checks it. There's about $390 in the pot. At this point, I totally believe I have the best of it with 2 pair. Not a whole lot got there. His flush draw didn't get there. He might have like a king jack or like a king 8 or a king 7, something weird, but not anything that could beat me. So I go ahead and put in about a half pot bet, but unfortunately he's reaching for chips right away. So this is a little bit alarming. He calls. I go ahead and throw my 2 pair out there thinking I have the best. He looks at it and he slams his better 2 pair in my face. King queen offsuit for a better 2 pair, and he takes away a big pot from me. This was so sick. This got me pretty tilted. Unfortunately, this was just it was just very sick. But hey, such is life. Sometimes you have to say YOLO and just throw your chips out there.
Alright, so now you've seen me take a bad beat. It's just so sick. As Phil Helmy says, just so sick. But hey, that's going to happen in poker. And what happens in poker is that you need to learn from your mistakes. In this instance, I could learn from the mistakes. There are lessons to be learned from your bad beats, as well as your victories. You can always learn how you could win more, etc., etc. But in this instance, I could have executed far better than I did. And for an example into that, on the flop, I bet 20. The opponent raised me to 50. I called. That's a standard play. That's what you should do every time. Pretty straightforward, right? But then the turn card comes. The turn is where it gets tricky in a lot of hands. Turn and river, that's where it gets very tricky when you're playing the game of poker. He checks it to me. I go ahead and bet 110 into 170. Why not check? In the end, what I should have done is checked, executed what they call pot control. And what that means is I'm gonna put pot control in there, keep it from getting too bloated, too big, to where now the river comes and I have to go in and put out that half pot size bet that I did. So going forward in the hand, after I put in that $110 bet, my opponent checks it to me on the river, I go ahead and bet 240, I lose that. So bottom line, if I checked on that turn card back, then I would have bet 110 into 170 instead of on that turn, but on the river, which would have saved me 240 in chips roughly. And that's what you want to do. In poker, the best thing that I can teach you is money not lost is actually money won. And that will enable you to use those chips that you didn't lose for the next pot. And that's what it's about. You're gonna lose money. It's gonna happen where exactly what happened to me. It's gonna happen, but you just have to keep on moving forward and learn from your mistakes. So if I can help you with that, that's what I'm here for. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for more content.